One of the big stories in gaming over the weekend was related to fighting games, which is, of course, Ryu and Chun-Li in Fortnite. But also in fighting games news, the Guilty Gear Strive open beta happened over the weekend, and after spending a better part of the day not being able to get in, I finally got to spend a good amount of time playing the game, and it's good. Okay, so full disclosure, I like fighting games, but I'm not a fighting games person. I suck at fighting games, I don't know enough of the mechanics or history, I'm probably one level above casual and a full-on scrub, so take what I say with a grain of salt, but I really enjoyed my time playing Guilty Gear. In fact, writing this outline makes me want to take advantage of the fact that they opened the window of the beta longer after they had server issues very early on. I think it's shaping up to be a really, really good game, and we would expect nothing less from Guilty Gear and Arxis at this point. The game feels great, it sounds great, and it's one of the most beautiful games ever made. Just look at it. I mean, I'm playing it on a PlayStation 4. If you have the PS5 or a really good PC, I'm sure that this is just melting your face off with how good it looks. So far, it seems to be a much more grounded, slower, footsie-heavy game than its predecessors, which I actually think is really cool. It's not going to be the flashy hyper game that Dragon Ball FighterZ, which is the game that this dev is probably best known for in the public at large these days, and it's not going to be as quick as previous Guilty Gears. But it's my hope that the Arxis polish keeps some of the more casual players who jumped in with fighters and introduces them to a new style of fighting game. I played mostly as Nagoriyuki, as you can see, because he's sick as shit. I mean, just look at him. But he's also an extreme example of the way that this feels compared to the old Guilty Gears. Very neutral heavy, very methodical, but very well balanced. And there's still systems you need to pay attention to. I mean, you see the damage, and I'm basically playing a shell and counter-poking mistakes to death, and I had a lot of fun doing that. I felt like I can control matches, which can be rare for a player of my skill level in an unfamiliar game. Usually when people play fighting games for the first time and they jump online, one of the reasons we see people drop out of the genre a lot is because they get in and they're playing someone even slightly more experienced than them, and they cannot control the match whatsoever, and they feel like, that's where you get complaints of it's too hard, or, and that's such a cop-out idea, but it is true that there is a barrier to a lot of casual players when they get online, and even at the lower servers, the lower floors, in the case of this game, they feel like they can't control a match no matter what. It's just pressure, pressure, pressure. They can't do anything, and then the responses just get good. So I think that this game's doing a good job of allowing players who are as bad as I am to be in control of matches and feel in control. The netcode is great. And my peasant apartment Wi-Fi, I only had one issue with stuttering, and that was really early in the beta. Other than that, the rollback was smooth. I mean, it's been the talk, but the rollback is fantastic and absolutely phenomenal. There were some issues in terms of matching with people every now and again, but for the most part, matching worked really well. And once you got into the match, super smooth. But that lobby system, yikes. I'm all for trying to do something to make your lobby a little bit more interesting. I actually think that there is a version of interesting lobbies out there that could exist, but this is not it. This hotel is kind of a bummer. The time it takes to run around and find a match will be this game's downfall if it does poorly. I'm calling it. The fact that there's no rematch option or any automatic 2 of 3s or anything like that is crazy. And I hope that maybe this is just a beta thing and they implement it, or it's something that can come quickly down the line, because the amount of downtime between matches is what has killed bigger franchises, more established franchises, and driven people away from the game. Again, the hardcore players are going to play this game because it's a great fighting game. But in terms of regular people who, because fighting games have been making a comeback for the last decade or so, we start to see more and more regular people get into them again. This game will succeed, I think, if they make sure they get that downtime fixed by having a better lobby system. There is a way around the lobby, but the lobby is going to be the entry point for a lot of players, and if it's bad, your game will suffer. So I really hope that they are able to figure that out. There's time to figure it out, and I hope they fix it. But overall, I recommend this game if you like fighting games even a little bit. I think you'll find a character you like, and as a result, an experience you like. And of course, everybody's going to find a character they like in any fighting game. But one of the things about Arxis, and one of the things about Guilty Gear, I think, maybe part of its reputation, is that the characters have... There's a lot of uniqueness to these characters. You're not... I don't want to, like, throw dirt on Street Fighter, but to throw dirt on Street Fighter, it doesn't... A lot of those characters don't feel unique. They feel like different versions of the same... I can't believe I'm going to say this. Function, right? Like the Marvel vs. Capcom Fallout. But I do think there are a lot of fighting games out there where that's the case. Arxis games, at least the ones that I've played, in terms of the old Guilty Gears, especially the old BlazBlues and stuff like that, they do a good job of giving each character a unique identity. And within that identity is a gameplay style that will suit different players. So, again, to compare it to Street Fighter, there's like rushdown characters, there's turtle characters. But it doesn't feel like the difference, doesn't feel like there's a big gap between them in terms of how the characters play, except in the hands of, players, you start to see that, right? But in this game, I think the players themselves, you really get a sense of, from the second you jump into your first match, oh, this character wants to do this. And this is the type of gameplay that's going to be really good with this character. This character wants to do this. I found myself really shocked because I like to play rushdown characters. I like to be in your face, hitting buttons. Because I feel like if you're going to whoop me, I might as well have fun hitting buttons while you do it, right? And just maybe get a little bit of finger exercise going there. Nice. But in this game, I was playing Nagoriyuki, and I was playing him very shelled. Probably because, again, I suck. I'm sure there's rushdown options, but he's very slow and very methodical, and very much I was on the counter attack. But I could see the difference between Nagoriyuki and when I was messing around with, say, Soul Bad Guy, or any of the other, Potemkin, or any of the other characters. I think there's a uniqueness to each one of them that is going to allow new players who come in to really pick a character they like, and as an extension, a gameplay style that they like. And because the game is geared toward, it's not as user-friendly and beginner-friendly, I don't think, as fighters, because there's no auto combos, and you're not just like hitting buttons and really cool things are happening on the screen. But it is user-friendly in the sense that the game is very well balanced, I think, in terms of beginners. Obviously, at the top end, there's going to be characters that in the hands of the pros are going to really separate themselves. But I think from a beginner level, the characters are pretty well balanced. And I think the fact that they've made a lot of the moves either safe. There's a lot of safe shit in this game, like a lot of safe moves. Or if they're not necessarily safe, you have so many cover options in terms of, and they do a good job in the command list, I think, for newer players. It'll say you could do this and you can link this and all that kind of stuff. So even though there's a little bit more difficult combos and combo links, it's going to be a little bit more of a neutral game. You're not going to necessarily see people. I mean, I did see actually there looked like there was a touch of death, but you're not necessarily, it's not a hyper game. But since a lot of the stuff is safe, I think it's going to allow you to really experiment in neutral. Again, it's that idea of, it's going to give beginners this concept of control, and they're not going to feel like they've jumped into a match and they've just been completely obliterated in a few seconds. I'll never forget the first time I played Street Fighter 4 online, because I played Tekken growing up, and I finally got into Street Fighter a little bit later, after Street Fighter 2, which we played on the Super Nintendo and all that kind of stuff. But then, later, I'd pick up Street Fighter 4, and the first time I played that online, I was like, I'm not having any fun, because it was later in the game's cycle. Everybody who was still online was like, they were killers, and I felt like I had no control over the match. I couldn't do anything. In this game, the way that they've developed it, the way that they balanced the characters, the way that the game feels, and the way that they've given all these characters their uniqueness as well as a lot of safety, I think it's going to allow new players to jump in and really experiment. And that's where the fun in fighting games comes from, is that experimentation and getting online and going, oh, okay, interesting. Oh, okay, so this player really likes to jump. So how am I going to punish that? What can my character do to really punish that? Obviously, there's a universal anti-air in this game, but do I have any other moves that I can really kind of follow up with and link into? Right? That's where the fun of fighting games comes from, but that can be really difficult for entry-level players, especially for a game as that has a storied franchise as Guilty Gear that has like a bunch of people who've been playing it for years, and it's a legacy franchise. So they're going to be coming in with all this knowledge already, and even though there's a little bit of tweaks here and there, you know, the devs are probably going to make the characters behave similar to their old iterations, even if it's slightly different. But they've done a good job of making sure that new players come in, and even though all of that knowledge is already out there, they might be facing somebody who's played Guilty Gear for a long time, they might be facing somebody who's played fighting games for a long time. I think that there's really good opportunity for new players to come in and feel in control and feel confident about what it is that they're doing. And as a result, I'm going to be so curious to see what the sticking power for this is for those type of players who might pick this up because it's an Arxis game, it's beautiful, they're going to hear all of the hype from this game coming out of the fighting game community. I'd love to see what the sticking power for a lot of those people are going to be. Is it going to be as big a hit in terms of like the public at large as fighters? Not a chance, because it doesn't have the brand and all that kind of stuff. But I think it will be really interesting to see how many people use this Guilty Gear as a jump-in point for maybe getting back into, you know, if they've been holding out, they're getting back into kind of that more traditional setup. So I'm really interested to see how that goes. So again, overall, I super recommend it. Even if you end up just stuck with me on the lower floors, we'll all have fun being scrubs together. And it's just a fun game. So I do highly recommend Guilty Gear Strive. Thank you for watching, and remember, if you can't see anything nice, hey guys, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think about the new series format. I've been thinking about doing shorter, kind of more open-ended, conversational reviews for some time now. I thought it'd be a great addition to the channel. My full views, or my full reviews, are typically on games that I have a lot to say about. They strike me in a certain way. That's why, you know, I made a 22-minute video on Outer Wilds that nobody watched, but it's because it was a game that spoke to me so much. And so my full reviews are on games that I have something to say about, hopefully something nice, you know, it's in the name. But I play a lot of games in between, so it's not like I play a video game, I make a review, and then I go into the cryo chamber for a year. But I play a game, make a review, and then I'm playing a lot of games in between. I'm like, this game's interesting, but it's not, you know, there's not that much to say about it. I don't have much to add to like the Guilty Gear Strive conversation that's not already being had, outside of my personal views on some of the things I find interesting. So that's not worth a full video. And as much as I like the idea of being like a mysterious YouTube recluse who randomly drops videos and then disappears for, you know, a year or two at a time, I thought adding these shorter reviews on games that I have less to say would be nice. So look forward to more of these, and I'm hoping that to kind of bring the series, say something short, and that'll allow me to kind of put ideas about games out there, but games that I don't necessarily have the desire to make a full review because it hasn't spoken to me in the way that the games that I do like to focus on have. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know what you thought about it, and look forward to more of these, or don't, you know? Like, nothing matters when compared to the infinite expanse of the universe that reflects the sheer insignificance of your life back at you every time you look into the night sky. Anyway, bye.